What up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. It's Pedro and Skylar. Check it out, check it out. Monsters are coming out. I know it's almost Christmas. I know you guys are excited. Bunch of Magic stuff coming out. Bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh stuff coming out. Everything coming out. People buying gifts, Pokemon gifts. But we got a deck tech today. As you see, it is a monster. Yesterday, file that to the side. We did zombies. Today, we're doing the other half of my monster deck. As you can see, got the zombies inside there, right on the right side. On the left side, got these vamps, as you can tell by the fangs, and our commander of the day. Here he is right here, Strefan. Maurer Progenitor. I don't even know how to say his name, but check it out. Basically what this dude does, at the beginning of your end step, create a blood token for each player who lost life this turn. Whenever Strefan attacks, you may sacrifice 2 blood tokens. If you do, you may put a vampire card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. It gains indestructible until end of turn. That's real nice. Real nice, because we get to play big vampires, cheap, basically free, as long as we create blood tokens. And it says each opponent or player, so even if you lose life, you get to create a blood token. And we're going to start off with the creatures. Some of the creatures here allow us to deal damage to each opponent. And we're going to start off with the first one. Vicious Conquistador. Don't know how to say that, but whenever he attacks, each opponent loses 1 life. Sorry guys if I'm butchering the cards. It is what it is, feel me? Stormfist Crusader. I know how to say that though. But we got Human Knights. Basically, even though she is a human and not a vampire, at the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card and loses 1 life. So she synergizes. You guys gonna hear me say that, synergize. Basically, it just means it goes with the flow of the deck. Creating blood tokens. Each player loses 1 life. We get 4 blood tokens. That'll allow us to play 2 vampires. Just keep the engine going. Whenever a vampire you control attacks, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So now we're gaining 1 life instead of losing a life. And that's very important because we need to gain as much life as we can. Because, you know, when Pedro plays black, we basically killing ourselves. Now we get into the blood tokens generators, the people who kind of synergize with the blood tokens. This is Falcon Wrath Forebear. She is flying, can't block, but whenever she deals combat damage to a player, create a blood token. Now she also has another ability. For 1 black mana, sacrifice 2 blood tokens, return Falcon Wrath Forebear from your graveyard to the battlefield. So she brings herself back by sacrificing 2 blood tokens. It is a way we can continue our strategy going. Because as long as we got vamps on the field and we're able to utilize our blood tokens, it'll definitely help us out. Blunthiff Harvester. Got a different artwork, but when he enters the battlefield, create a blood token. So basically just entering, he makes a blood token. Sacrifice him, target creature gets -X, where X is the number of blood tokens you control. So he's probably able to take down something as long as we control multiple blood tokens, which in this deck is pretty easy to do. Scion of Opulence. Whenever she or another vampire you control dies, create a treasure token. So it's not attack, it is when they die. Now that's very important because with the other vampire, she can die, bring her back, get 2 blood tokens, and yeah, keep the blood tokens going. That's our main strategy, is trying to create blood tokens with this deck. And this is a real fun deck to play. Sacrifice 2 artifacts, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So I love value. So anytime I can play another card, possibly, even if it's a land, if you missed your land drop, you X out a top card, you get that land. Hey, everything helps. Now this lady right here, pretty nice. See her glistening in flash. Voldarian Bloodcaster. She's a vampire wizard, flying. Whenever she or another non-token creature you control dies, another thing that dies, you create a blood token. Whenever you create a blood token, if you control 5 or more blood tokens, transform her. So, she does have a backside. No, we ain't playing werewolves. Some vampires do have a backside as well. And check it out, check it out. Shining in the light. But flying at the beginning of combat on your turn, up to one target blood token you control becomes a 2/2 black creature with flying and haste in addition to his other types. So she makes our blood tokens being able to attack, but she does make it into a creature, so be careful with board wipes. Vampire Socialite. She has Menace, Love Disability, Menace. But when she enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. So main phase 2, if we had swung in, she'll be able to deal damage, especially with the ways we're able to deal damage, even without attacking, just by the opponent drawing a card and losing 1 life. She'll activate, and that'll make all our vampires stronger that's already on the battlefield. And as long as the opponent lost life this turn, each vampire you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So she has 2 different ways to get counters on our bad boys and girls. And speaking of girls, these are 3 baddest girls in the deck. Now I am telling you that keyword Menace for a 6/6 for 4 colorless and 2 red, that's 6. But when she deals damage, create that many blood tokens. I'm telling you, you create 6 blood tokens. 2 colorless, a red. She deals 1 damage to any target. That ability right there, kind of people overlook, but she is definitely one of the best cards in the deck, creating blood tokens. Another good card in the deck, great card I should say, is Anje, Maid of Dishonor. When Anje, Maid of Dishonor, and or 1 or more vampires enter the battlefield, create a blood token. Always love the blood token synergize, because our commander, Mr. Strefan over here, flying around. That boy want them blood tokens because we try to throw them at people. We try to bite them, do whatever we got to do. This is another one. She a bad girl. Bad girl. Markov Enforcer. When Markov Enforcer or another vampire enters the battlefield under your control, Markov Enforcer fights up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. Whenever a creature dealt damage by Markov Enforcer dies, we create a blood token. Blood token, but she just be coming in and getting pissed and just be hitting a person for no reason. And we like it. Kill something somebody wasn't trying to attack with. Get a blood token from it. Little mana dwarf, whatever they got over there. Now we got over here a little +1/+1 and have first strike. Other vampires, creatures you control. Him himself has first strike, and that Stromkirk captain for 1 colorless, a black and a red. Now this is a bad girl. 4 colorless, black, red, Olivia Crimson Bride. Mythic. Probably my favorite card in here. Or, second favorite, because I got a Planeswalker in here, that's my favorite. Flying, haste. Whenever Olivia Crimson Bride attacks, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. It gains when you don't control a legendary vampire, exile this creature. So I was playing with these people at the card shop, and they're like, oh, it dies if they have a legendary. If you don't have a legendary, I'm like, yes. But they didn't realize most of my vampires are legendary creatures, so kind of helps out. But this is another way to bring something back. Whenever Drana, the last blood chief, attacks, I said chef. Well, they do be biting people, so it makes sense. Defending player chooses a non-legendary creature in your graveyard. You return that card to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. That creature is a vampire in addition to his other types. So we get to bring back some creatures that don't have the legendary in it, like this guy right here. So we'll bring him back to bring back this, which is Bloodline Necromancer, 4 colorless, a black, has lifelink, and when it enters the battlefield, you may return target vampire or wizard creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So bring that back, bring back something else like this guy. I'm just kidding, guys. But this is, Timothar, Baron of Bats. We're going to call him Timmy. 4 colorless, 2 black. This guy also has ward, discard a card, so if somebody wants to target him, they got to chuck something out their hand. Go down to 6, 5, 4, whatever you got. Whenever another non-token vampire you control dies, you may pay 1. Exile it if you do create a 1/1 black creature token with flying. It gains when this creature deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it, and return an exiled card to the battlefield tab. Now, you got to remember, the bats have to do damage in order to return the card you exiled. If they kill your bats before you return the card that is exiled, you lose that card and it just continues to be exiled. That's the only downside, but hey, he fits the theme, a big boy, and we just like bringing back our stuff. When it pops off, it happens. Blood Tracker, ain't no getting away from him. From flying, 3 colorless and a black. Pay 2 life, put a +1/+1 counter on Blood Tracker. When Blood Tracker leaves the battlefield, draw a card for each +1/+1 counter on it. Love drawing, value is always important. Anawan, the Ruined Sage, 3 colorless, 2 black. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player sacrifices a non-vampire creature. So, people hate this card, makes them sacrifice, and go around the board, playing with a team of 3 other people, you sacrifice 3 creatures, pretty worth it. Now they're going to have to worry about him, leave some of your other cards alone. We play multiple threats in here, so as long as we get vampires out, there's going to be multiple things they have to worry about. And a board wipe is something that we have to account for. This lady right here, Henrika Domnathi, 2 colorless, 2 black. I really like this card. Like the artwork. Flying, at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Each player sacrifices a creature. Love that. You draw a card and lose 1 life. Love that. Or you can transform her. But usually I'll try and use at least both of those other ones before I transform her, unless I really need to. But flying, death touch, lifelink. She drinking a glass, taking a sip. You already know. Getting drunk off that blood. Colorless, a black. Each creature you control with flying, death touch, and or lifelink gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So, me personally, I like the 2 effects on the front before I flip it. But there is a way. There is a way. Butcher of Malakar. Vampire warrior for 5 colorless, 2 red. Now, a lot of our vampires, like I said, are high mana cost, but because of our commander here, Strefan, that boy, he allows us to play them basically for free. And when we do get them out, because we create all those blood tokens, another creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. So, if they try and kill our creatures by single target removal, they're going to have to sacrifice something too. This lady right here, I really like her. Necropolis, Regent, 3 colorless, 3 black. But whenever she deals combat damage, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. She's already a 6/5. So, swinging in once, she turns into a 12. And I am telling you, it's kind of crazy. If she gets any stronger than that, she's going to be doing a lot of damage. And being able to play it basically for free with our commander, that boy is just staying right there, because that's just nice. This is just nasty, being able to play all these big vampires. Drana, Calastria Bloodchief, 3 colorless, 2 red, flying, black, X, which X is just pay any mana, and then however much you pay is what happens. Target creature gets -0, -X. She gets +X, +0. So we kill something, and we get stronger. So she basically sucks the blood out of them. This guy, I really like him. Westgate Regent, 3 colorless, 2 black, flying. Another ward, discard a card. So in order to target him, you have to discard a card. And I just like being annoying and having people have to chuck some stuff. Value, value, value. But when he deals combat damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. So just like this lady right here, he gets that many +1/+1 counters on it. And he's slightly stronger, but or she's slightly stronger, but it don't matter because he has a ward, he has flying, he has everything we like. He's pretty nice. Nice touch to the deck. Nakarna Revenant, 4 colorless, 2 black. Whenever you tap a swamp for mana, add an additional swamp. For 1 swamp, she gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So imagine how many swamps we have. You'll see once we get to the land base. But she can get very, very strong. She does not have flying, but I am telling you, it's kind of crazy. Cemetery Gatekeeper, another one of my favorite vampires in this deck. First strike, when it enters the battlefield, exile a card from a graveyard, and whatever card you exiled, if they play a land or cast a spell, if it shares a card type with the exiled card, Cemetery Gatekeeper deals 2 damage to that player. So we like dwindling our opponent slowly, because once we swing in, after we've been knocking them down a little bit, it gets out of hand. They really don't account for this. Crossway Troublemakers, attacking vampires you control have Death Touch and Lifelink. Crazy, and especially if we can play him for free with our commander. We try not to pay any mana for high mana cost vampires. I'm telling you, we save it for spells and sorceries. We cheat out our vampires. And sometimes we have to pay, but it's usually we get it for free. Whenever a vampire you control dies, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. So pay life, draw a card, get something nasty, keep our hands full. As long as you're drawing cards, you're doing what you need to, then you'll be set. You'll be set. Patron of the Vein. Here we go again. We got flying. When it enters the battlefield, he just straight up bites somebody, take him out of the arena. Target creature an opponent control dies. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, exile it and put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. So the 2 things I like about this is it exiles a card that dies, so takes that out the game. People hate that because they cannot get it back from their graveyard, because graveyard is a tool as well. And put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. I'm telling you, that's crazy. This card is very strong. And if we get multiple of these vampires out at once, a border wipe is highly, highly going to happen. Like, you have to account for that. But we got ways to get around it. Bloodthirst, flying, Blood Lord of Vazgoth, another cool vampire. 3 colorless, 2 black. Whenever you cast a vampire creature spell, it gains Bloodthirst. So basically, if an opponent was dealt damage this turn, this creature enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. So the ways we can just deal 1 damage to an opponent, that does count. They'll come in with 3 counters on it, and our vampires get even stronger. Imagine if all these vampires come in with all these counters on it, and the effects they have, it makes it harder to get removed. Twilight Prophet, 2 colorless, 2 black. She's a real nice card. If you have Ascend, meaning 10 or more permanents, you get the City of Blessings for the rest of the game. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the City of Blessings, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. Each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is that card's commanded mana cost. So you draw 1 card from her effect, reveal it. Oh, here we go. Champion of Dusk, 3 colorless, 2 black. Each opponent loses 5 life. You gain 5 life, and now you got this card in your hand, and then you just draw the next card. Bam. That's how it works. She's very, very strong. Like I said, we got a lot of threats. We play big vampires. Edgar Markov, I know he's a nice commander and all, but I'm telling you, we like playing big boys, doing big things. Champion of Dusk, 3 colorless, 2 black. When it enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the number of vampires you control. So, as long as we have about 4 or 5 vampires, we'll play that. Gain about 4 or 5 cards, lose about 4 or 5 life. But we'll try and either gain life or do something like that some way, somehow. Now, we're going to get into our next part of the deck right here. Yes, sir. Artifacts. Now we got the mana ramp. Talisman of Indulgence. Add a colorless, black or red. Deals 1 damage to you. This is sort of a mana ramp, but Bantu's Monument. 3 colorless. Black creature spells. Creature spells you cost 1 less. Whenever you cast a creature spell, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. So, another way to lose life. Soul Ring, you already know. Arcane Signet, you already know. Add 1 mana of any of your commander's identity. Good old Rakdos Signet. Tap 2 colorless for 1 colorless, a black and a red. Commander Sphere, add black or a red for us, and sacrifice it, draw a card. Now, you don't have to play this. You can replace this. I just like having extra mana. Swiftfoot Boots, definitely play this. Equipped creature has hexproof. Put it on Strefan as soon as he gets out. He gets haste. Sacrifice 2 blood tokens. Play the big boys over there. And it just gets out of hand, my guy. Get out of hand. Blade of the Blood Chief. Whenever a creature is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on an equipped creature. If it's a vampire, which it definitely is, put a 2 +1/+1 counters on it instead. So this is another way to buff up big boys so they make it through. People can't do anything. Know what I'm saying? Go ahead and hang up that phone. My bad, fellas, ladies. All right, let's get back into it. Blade of the Blood Chief. Also, is only 1 colorless. 1 colorless to attach. Very, very cheap. Now, this is a way to utilize our blood tokens, because our blood tokens are artifacts. Which, let me go ahead and show you guys that. There you are. Blood token. Artifact. So, you can see whenever Gonti's Aether Heart or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you get 2 lightning. So basically, for 3, 6, what's that? 3, 6, 7, 8 lightning, we get to exile Aether Heart, take an extra turn after this one. Extra turn, pretty nasty. The way we get blood tokens, very, very quick. Lightning Greaves, another way to get haste. Can't be the target of spells or abilities. Equip 0, though, for 2 colorless. Nice. This right here, whenever another vampire you control attacks, create a blood token. Another way to create a blood token, 2 colorless and a black. For 1 black, 1 mana, pay 1 life. Create a 1/1 white and black vampire creature token with lifelink. So even though you pay a life, you can swing it, get lifelink. Or you got the 2 black, sacrifice it. And 13 blood tokens. Each opponent loses 13 life and you gain 13 life. So there is a way we can get a lot of blood tokens. If an opponent does not have artifact removal, we'll get very crazy, because soon. Now let's get into the instants and sorceries. We'll start off with Stensia Masquerade. This is an enchantment. Attacking creatures you control have first strike, so allow our vampires to have first strike so they don't die. Whenever a vampire you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on it. That is a way to buff up our vampires, a way to give it first strike. Gotta have that in there. Arterial Alchemy, 2 colorless and a black. When it enters the battlefield, create a blood token for each opponent you have. Playing a game of 4, we get 3 blood tokens. Blood tokens you control have our equipment in addition to their other types, and have equipped creature gets +2/+0. So that's another way to utilize our blood tokens, possibly make our opponent stronger. And Looks like I missed the artifact. This is a very important one, but non-artifact spells you cast have improvise, meaning tap the artifact and adds one colorless. And that's kind of crazy because we have 13 blood tokens. That's 13 colorless mana. It's kind of sick. Now, this is what I was talking about, my favorite. Planeswalker, Sorin, Mythilus, 2 colorless, black, black, legendary Planeswalker. Look at the top card of your library. You may reveal that card, put it into your hand. If you do, you lose life equal to its mana value. Value of drawing cards for a +1, or if you want to minus them 2, create a 2/3 black vampire creature token with flying and lifelink. So both abilities are nice. He does have a -7. It comes out as 4. Sorin deals 13 damage to any target. You gain 13 life. Love that card. There's another Sorin Imperious Bloodlord. Now this deck is pretty upgraded. Target creature you control gains Death Touch and lifelink until end of turn. If it's a vampire, put a +1/+1 counter on it. For another +1, he has 2 separate +1s. You may sacrifice a vampire. When you do, Sorin deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life. Or his -3 when he comes out as 4. You may put a vampire creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. So most likely we're going to activate his last ability for sure. Just put out a vampire. Kind of crazy. Now, in case we have to, they board wipe us. And they have a way to get creatures back. We'll blasphemous act them. Get them back. Why you going to board wipe us when we just trying to get some blood? Patriarchs. Bidding. 3 colorless, 2 black. Sorcery. Each player chooses a creature type. Each player returns all creature cards of a type chosen this way from the graveyard to the battlefield. So it allows us to bring back all our vampires. If we're chucking them up, discarding them by our blood tokens or any way they died, whatever, get them back. New blood, 2 colorless, black, black. As an additional cost to cast new blood, tap an untapped vampire creature you control. No problem. Gain control of target creature. Change the text of that creature by replacing all instances of one creature type with vampire. So, we get to take something. That's crazy. Very nice card. New blood. Vandal Blast. Destroy target artifact you don't control for 1 red. Or we're going to most likely overload it. Destroy everybody's artifacts, all their mana rocks, whatever they're trying to do. Crazy artifacts. And that's just how we do it. Now there are 2 cards that will allow us to take a secondary attack phase so we can get more vampires out by our commander. So we swing, get out a vampire, swing again, get out another vampire. But untap target creature after this phase, there is an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. This card also has flashback. The beginning cost of this is 3 colorless and a red, but the flashback is 2 colorless and a red. Telling you guys, this deck's kind of crazy. If you guys want to build it, go ahead, follow this deck list. I don't mind sharing. Just play, have fun. Relentless Assault, 2 colorless and a red sorcery. Untap all creatures that attack this turn. You may declare an additional attack during your main phase this turn. So another way to attack. This is one of my favorite cards in this deck. Artwork. I really went for the artwork in some of these cards. And Grim Tutor. Search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. You lose 3 life. I need to get Vampiric Tutor. I don't have that, but this is good enough for me. Olivia's Wrath, 4 colorless and a black. Each vampire creature gets -X, or each non-vampire creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of vampires you control. So this is a board wipe, but it keeps our vampires. Pointed Discussion, 2 colorless and a black. You draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, then create a blood token. So love drawing 2 cards. Don't mind losing 2 life. And we get to get a blood token, possibly a vampire out. Something nasty. Vampire Kiss. Colorless and a black. Target player loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. Create 2 blood tokens. So, the way to make somebody lose life, if Strefan is out, Make somebody lose life. We gain 2 life. We create 2 blood tokens. Swing. Sacrifice the 2 blood tokens. Get out a vampire. At the end of the turn, we get another blood token. Boy, it's crazy. I'm telling you. Blood tokens is crazy. Very easy to take that extra turn card. And Blood Pact, 2 colorless black. Instant. Target player draws 2 cards and lose 2 life. So we're going to draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. Urge to Feed. Target creature gets -3/-3. All right. A lot of things are about 3 or less. You may tap any number of vampire untapped creatures you control. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire. So we could change this, but I have this in there just because it's vampires. Artwork kind of went for the theme of it. Now this I just play. This I just play because it's just nasty. Exile target creature if you control your commander. I ain't got to say less. You play it for free. 3, we never really play it for 3 colorless and a black. Most likely we always have it when we have our commander. And that is just crazy. Those cards should have never been printed. Rakdos Charm, black and a red. Choose 1. Exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Destroy target artifact. Each creature deals 1 damage to its controller. So, the first 2. Awesome. 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 Now, this is where we got into the deck, where I like building my decks with these type of cards. This one isn't the best for 2 colors and a black, but this spell costs 1 less to cast, and an opponent controls no basic lands. That's a colorless and a black, turns into a murder. And on the backside, add a land. It comes in tapped, but still, it is utilizing 2 slots of my deck. I can basically play less lands because I have the spell, and I have an extra spell because I have a land on the back. Value. That's the way I see it, as value. I like these type of cards, just like Malakath Rebirth. Choose target creature. You lose 2 life until end of turn. That creature gains when this creature dies. Return it to the battlefield tapped under its controller. So this is an instant. Somebody goes to kill our creature. Tap 1 black. Get to use it. Bring it right back. But if we don't need it, the backside will be black. Mana. If you guys want to see that artwork, I go ahead and show you. Love the artwork. And Magic, Pokemon, basically all card games. Artwork is very important to me. Now this right here, we gotta have the Valdedian Estate. I do not say blah 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 blah. Add a colorless, pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast a vampire. Most of our cards are vampires. For 5 colorless, create a blood token. His ability costs 1 less to activate for each vampire you control. So if we have vampires, 5 of them, tap it, create a blood token. Tap it. Oh, nasty. Pay 1 life, 1 mana. So this card is real nice. Really like that land in this deck. Very strong. Unclaimed territory. Choose vampires. Add a colorless. Add 1 mana of any color. Spend his mana only to cast creature spells of the chosen type. So we're going to choose vampires, of course. Fabled Passage. Allows us to sacrifice it. Search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle your library. Then, if you control 4 or more lands, untap that land. So, if we have that on turn 4, bada bang, we get an untapped land. Path of Ancestry comes into play tap, but it has 1 mana of any color. When you spend that mana to cast this creature type, which is going to be vampires, scry 1. So, always remember you get to scry when you have that out. Add 1 mana, any color that a land an opponent could produce. So that is very strong. Somebody's playing certain colors like you are. Then you get to use it, utilize it. Opal's Palace, add a colorless. From 1 colorless, add 1 mana of any color to your commander's identity. If you spend this mana to cast your commander, it enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number of times it's been cast from the command zone this game. I really like this card because the more they kill your vampire, the more they kill him. I know you don't want him to die, but sometimes he does die. It's magic. It's going to happen. People aren't going to let you play the deck like you want to, but you got to try and play the deck like you want to. That's the game. Command Tower, add 1 mana of any color, your commander's identity. Dragon Skull Summit, add a black or a red. If enters the battlefield tapped, if you don't control a swamp or a mountain, which most likely we will. Enters the battlefield tapped, scry 1, add a black or a red. This right here, red on one side, black on the other. Very nice. Rakdos Carnium enters the battlefield tap. Return a land you control to its owner's hand. This one adds a black and a red. So 2 mana and 1 land. Play that early. Be nice. 4 Bodin Ruins. Enters the battlefield. You may reveal a swamp or a mountain from your hand. If you don't, enters the battlefield tap. Add a black or a red. Shadowblood Ridge. Add a black or a red for 1 colorless. Smoldering Marsh. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. Tainted Peak, add a colorless, add black or a red, activate only if you control the swamp. Maurer Landscape, sacrifice it, 2 colorless, look for a black and a red. Temple of False God, add 2 colorless, activate if you only have 5 or more lands. Now you don't need this in this deck. I just like having the extra 2 lands. I've never had the issue of where I had that in my hand and I couldn't play different lands. But right here we got swamp, all these swamp, mostly foils, and then the mountains. And we play 38 lands with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 of them being basic lands, the rest being some type of other land, either a dual land or whatever. But these are our tokens. Check them out. Blood tokens, blood bat tokens. Yes, sir. Vampire tokens. Got a lot of tokens. But that's basically it. That's our deck tech. Trying to make it easier. Let me guys drop it in the comments. Let me know what we can improve on. But Strefan, we out of here. Till next time, guys.